Well, good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Tom Schlueter with today's Tom's Take. Well, let's revisit one more time this week, Genesis 1. Let me read it again from a couple of different translations, the Amplified and the Passion. In the beginning, this is the Amplified, God prepared, formed, fashioned, and created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and an empty waste, and darkness was upon the face of the very great deep. The Spirit of God was moving, hovering, brooding over the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, suitable, pleasant, and He approved it. And God separated the light from the darkness. From the Passion Translation, when God created the heavens and the earth was completely formless and formless and empty, with nothing but darkness draped over the deep. God's Spirit hovered over the face of the waters. Then God announced, "Let there be light," and light burst forth. And God saw the light as pleasing and beautiful. He used the light to dispel the darkness. Now, before I go to some comments on this, I want to read a couple more passages. But we're going to go now to John chapter 1. In the beginning, remember? So in the Amplified, it simply reads again, "In the beginning, before all time, was the Word, Christ. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God Himself. He was present originally with God. All things were made and came into existence through Him. And without Him was not even one thing made that has come into being. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines on in the darkness, for the darkness has never overpowered it, put it out, absorbed it, or appropriated it, and is unreceptive to it." Wow. John 1, 1 through 5. Now let's go to the Passion again. In the beginning, and you're going to notice that Brian Simmons, instead of using the word, uses another expression of what this meant in the Greek. In the beginning, the living expression was already there. And the living expression was with God, yet fully God. They were together, face to face, in the very beginning. And through His creative inspiration, this living expression made all things. For nothing has existence apart from Him. A fountain of life was in Him, for His life is light for all humanity. And this light never fails to shine through darkness, light that darkness could not overcome. I want to concentrate first off on one phrase in that passage. Through His creative inspiration, this living expression made all things. Through this living expression. Wow. That really takes us back to Genesis, because when we are looking at Genesis, we are seeing that when God created all things, He wasn't sitting in a lazy boy in heaven somewhere. He was literally expressing Himself. The word create there almost gives an implication of an expression of Himself, thinking of Himself. Not thinking of Himself, but thinking out of Himself. And out of that came forth life, came forth creation. Yes, there was the speaking of the creation, but you need to understand first off that God, in His full expression of life, simply all he needed to do was express life, express light. He just had to think it. His mind just released the creative miracle that was taking place before him. He wasn't looking at some kind of a formula on a page. He wasn't saying, oh, well, on day one, I got to take care of A, B, C, and D here. It just flowed from him and flowed from the Christ who was with him, the Word, the living expression of him. It's an amazing concept. We can't get lost somehow in God is sitting up there and he's just kind of pointing out things that he hopes to be done. He is literally releasing his very nature, his very purpose as God himself is being released into the creation that he is thinking, that he is expressing, that he is imaging, and that, yes, he is speaking into existence. Wow. Now let me go to a footnote that Brian Simmons had in verse 3, and it speaks about that phrase, and there was light. God created light. But you need to remember here that God did not create the sun or the moon until the fourth day. He's not creating the sun and the moon or the stars. It says he created light. Then he goes on to say, God himself, and here's where we're getting that full expression again of who he is and what he was doing. God himself filled the atmosphere with the light of his presence and glory. He just filled the atmosphere with himself because he is light. He is glory. He is the full brilliance of all the majesty and glory of God Almighty is who he is. And he was releasing his very nature into the atmosphere, into the earth structure, into that chaos, into that void, into that emptiness, into that darkness that we spoke of yesterday. The Hebrew words used with the phrases let there be and there was are both, interestingly, related to the name Yahweh, because they both flow from the expression of Yahweh. The first letters are Yehi, let there be, and Wahi, and there was. Isn't that amazing? Yehi and Wahi, Yahweh. As he spoke, as he released his self into the atmosphere, everything was created. And it started with light. As he released the word of power, the universe began to expand and has been expanding ever since. Let me stop there. I'm going to come back to Brian's last line in that. This was about 6 years ago, maybe 7. My wife Kay at that time was doing all the leading of our worship. And in the middle of her worship, the Spirit of the Lord fell on her. And she had a revelation of something. She saw God with like a bag, like a sower would have, that scatters seed out on the ground. Amazing. But what she saw was he would reach in and pull out what looked like seed and fling it in a large spiral movement, and a galaxy was formed. Another galaxy. Planets, stars. Need to remember something here. God has not stopped creating. If we say he stopped creating, we are saying he has stopped expressing himself. But if he stops expressing himself, we will receive no more prophetic words, no more revelations, no more insights via the Spirit of God, because he quit expressing himself. He hasn't. He is continuing to create, continuing to bring forth life and light. Now, last phrase of Brian Simmons' footnote says God's kingdom operates according to the principle, here it is, of endless increase, not of power that diminishes over time. Everything that we've got in the world regarding energy has a stopping point. They are trying really hard to find something that is an expression of energy that never stops, that was created by man. It may happen at some point, who knows? But right now, our batteries die. The clock stops. The engine runs out of gas. But there is a principle of endless increase regarding God. There is nothing in him that diminishes over time. So imagine for a moment now that he simply expressed himself. And as he expressed himself, as he spoke that expression out, and simply said, "Let there be light," there was light. Yahweh spoke. He expressed himself, and light and life and creation and everything that he is still forming today began to be released. What's really powerful is, as we talked about darkness yesterday, that darkness cannot comprehend it. And remember, we're not talking about the sun when we're talking about the light. We're not talking about the moon. We're not talking about a flashlight or the lights that are above me here in the ceiling. Because I'll guarantee you that light will put a shadow. I can put my hand here and I can see the shadow on my desk. But God's light, there's no shadow. You see, there's no darkness. Darkness can't comprehend this light. This light dispels the darkness, conquers the darkness, dismantles the darkness. That is what he is releasing as Yahweh into our lives right now. So please, as you go through this day, as you go through the weekend and the weeks to come, as you begin to see, or continue to see, I should say, all sorts of manifestations of chaos and darkness and foreboding, God's light, Yahweh, and the full expression of who he is will dispel all of it. He will bring forth the fullness of his glory. Now let me finish with this thought. Because we don't just sit back in our chairs and just say, "Have at it, God. Thank you so much." No, he's released the very nature of who he is. We are made in his image. And the full expression of who he is, as it's been released into us, he now says to us, "You need to represent me to the world. You are now the light of the world. You are now the salt of the earth. You are now the one that carries the glory, the expression, the image, the fullness of what God is releasing into the world in which you live." that should make you walk a little bit more confidently through Walmart next time, or driving through maybe a darker portion of town. I made a comment today, I'll close with this. I was recording it today, but yesterday we had a tribunal here at Kingdom Gate, and we were praying over Washington, D.C. And one of the images that I was seeing, and I'm still seeing, is His glory like a liquid luminance flowing through the streets, cleansing, purifying, and is being done as His ecclesia prays, as His ecclesia rises up and says, we are going to be the ones that determine the future, not only of that city, but of this nation. You now carry His light. Go and carry it with the fullness of who He is in you through Jesus Christ. Blessings to all of you. I'll be back with you again on Monday.